So this morning, I think everyone in Australia woke up to some news, and that was Brooklyn Peltz Beckham, his official name, posting a series of statements to his Instagram story. I think a lot's been kind of put into like how it looks in a way, like the black background, the very kind of somber, small white text, not a notes app or anything like that. It feels like a typed up statement that has been formatted. I'm assuming he didn't do that. He hasn't really got a lot of life skills. Bless that sweet boy. I'm assuming someone else did it, and that it's gone through many eyes the way it's been written. And I feel like this has been in the works for quite a long time.
Okay. All right. See, I didn't feel that way.
Really?
Yeah, just because there is so much there. So I don't think it's been through a lot of eyes, because when something goes through a lot of eyes, it gets fossicked and picked over until you're left with bare bones. I don't know. I do think he did take some time to do it, and whether he formatted himself or not remains to be raised.
Who's asking that question? The big question.
The big question.
No, I don't think it went through any like PR or team eyes. Yeah. I mean, like it's like Nicola.
For sure.
Nicola's friends, potentially her parents, who be very invested in it. Like maybe some of his friends.
Yeah.
It's just like everything. It's like, oh, and this, remember, and then this happened, and add this, and then like it just feels like
it was like press, swipe. So I was like, this just doesn't end. It's so fabulous.
Burnt into my brain forever. So it started off with him saying, I have been silent for many years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, this is the first hit directly at his parents. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that they have printed. And then he then went on to say, I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. Bombshell already.
I mean, from the get-go, he does not miss.
Yes. And such a clear statement straight away. First of all, saying that my parents and the team go to the press, which is something that he has said on multiple slides as we get into that, which is a very kind of a different narrative than we've heard very much from the Beckham camp over the years, which is very much like they're talking to him privately and like we're trying to keep this out of the spotlight. And this is kind of the first direct hit that he's put out against them, that they have tried to put this story into the public eye.
Were you surprised to hear that?
Not at all. I guess like there was this whole kind of narrative that I kind of bought into that they were quite, trying to mend bridges with their son, and that a lot more was happening behind the scenes. The fact that he keeps saying it's like quite a very orchestrated attack against him, I guess maybe a little bit surprising. I would have thought they would just be trying to keep the whole thing undercover, push it down, keep it out of the public eye, never have people reference it. Whereas he keeps making claims that they've taken it to the press. Yeah. Which I'd be surprised they'd want that kind of negative attention on their family when their whole brand is built on, as he says in his statement, making us look like the perfect family.
Yeah. But maybe it's just because it was too far gone.
Yeah.
That's how it read to me.
Victoria and David Beckham are just quite good at sidestepping a lot of scandal. A lot of scandal has been attached to their name over the years, from him cheating on her, which was never disproven. They've sidestepped that to the fact that I think people have forgotten allegations of like more cheating on his side. That's been sidestepped. Allegations they lived apart for many years. All the stuff around like them feuding over her business tanking and him having to give her like all this extra money, how they've raised their children, how she interacts with the Spice Girls and their famous friends. A lot of they've been kind of involved in a few different celeb feuds. It's all been pushed away. So I just thought they were so good at dancing around headlines that they would be the ones trying to keep this under wraps, whereas he's saying they've been the ones who've been pushing it into the spotlight.
Yeah.
The next slide gets more into their wedding, which, as we kind of knew, what surprised me about this is that so many stories that were presented as rumors over the years that we have talked about here on The Spill, he is confirming. He's confirmed so many rumors are true. Which, I mean, we'll get into how that leaked in a bit. But the next slide, he says, my parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. Okay. The first time that there was these stories around Victoria Beckham feuding with Nicola, it was over the dress.
Yeah.
And the story went that she was supposed to wear Victoria Beckham on her wedding day. And that was kind of just like a fact that was printed, that was talked about. And when she wore a different designer on her wedding day, a story kind of started circulating that was never spoken about, that she and her mum had been, like Nicola and her mum had been chasing Victoria for this dress, trying to set up a time, trying to get it made. And then in the end, Nicola's mum called Victoria and was like, hey, we need to get this dress made. What can we do? And Victoria's like, I won't have time. Sorry. That was always presented as a rumor. But then in this slide, Brooklyn writes, my mum cancelled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour despite how excited she was to wear her design and forced her to urgently find a new dress. Weeks before our big day, my parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name, which would have affected me, my wife, and our future children. They were adamant on me signing before my wedding day because the terms of the deal would be initiated. My holdout affected the payday, and they have never treated me the same since. So he's confirming that long-held story about the dress is true.
It's true, yeah, which is epic that he's given us that information. Now, the designer, by the way, that stepped in at the last minute and provided the dress, which was absolutely glorious,
gorgeous,
was Valentino.
Yes.
Who also, other news we woke up to this morning was that Valentino passed away.
Yeah,
so
massive news day.
Yes, very, very big news day. But interestingly, I interviewed Nicola a couple of years ago.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
One of the things that I chatted to her about was her wedding dress. Now, I did not know the drama at the time. And I wonder in retrospect now if she thought that I was fishing for information about it.
No, but the story about the dress didn't come out until I'm sure that all had happened behind the scenes, so it would have been really raw for her. But the story about the dress came out after the wedding, like quite a few weeks after.
When I spoke to her, it was 2022.
Oh, right.
So no, the news was...
Oh, the news was out then. I think that you spoke to her like just after the wedding.
No, not just after the wedding. No.
She calls you from the honeymoon.
Yeah. No, yeah, just me and my close personal friend, Nicola. No, we spoke in 2022. So it was, the news was out.
Oh, the news was out.
I just had missed that memo. So
sometimes that's the best way to play in a celeb interview. Like, tell me about your dress. You're like, oh, sorry, I don't read gossip. I don't know.
So how it happened was I asked her about her personal style and how she would describe it. And she was like, you know what? I feel like you're better equipped. I was working at a fashion magazine at the time. I think you're better equipped to explain my personal style to me. And
Girl,
I said,
do a day's work in your life.
I said to her, well, you know, one of the funny things is that I've always counted the best way of checking a celebrity's personal style is their wedding, right? Because it is the one time that they can get a bit diva, they can make a few mistakes. It's really easy to get it wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, Nicola, you nailed it. Like, you looked absolutely gorgeous on your wedding day, and your pictures are on every modern bride's Pinterest board. And she was like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. She was very coy. She was like, took the compliment well, but she did move the conversation
Oh my
forward.
God, of course. Okay, that is crazy that you asked her about her wedding dress when that is the root of all scandal.
Yes.
She did look incredible.
She looked incredible.
I guess a few people were just like, oh, we wanted something more from her. I'm like, no. She's a billionaire heiress. Like, she's not going, I know she like also masquerades as an actress and like a kind of indie it girl, but she's a billionaire heiress.
Yes.
That was a billionaire wedding.
Yes. And it was very classic. It was very beautiful.
With the
Honestly,
gloves and the kind
stunning.
of like the classing silhouette, the big train, like, yeah.
I'm going to say VB did her a favor by not designing that dress because she looked so resplendent in Valentino, and I'm glad that's what she wore.
Yeah.
Which I famously have now complimented her
Well,
on.
exactly. There you go. That probably maybe made her feel a lot better because she's probably like, as soon as she said wedding dress, she was like, worst day of my life, worst day of my life. Well, I wanted to wear my mother-in-law's design. I mean, again, this is the story they're telling. We don't know how Victoria would tell it. But also famously, like, Victoria Beckham wore one of her own designs, that liquid silver gown that everyone was commenting on how stunning it looked. And then one of her son's girlfriend's partners was also wearing one of her Victoria Beckham designs that was quite similar. And the vibe was like, oh, so one daughter-in-law towed the line.
Yes.
And then the other's wearing a different designer. And then we now found out that there was a whole situation behind the scene.
Whole situation.
That's the thing is, like, I wonder how that got out because Brooklyn, through all of his different slides, is saying, like, my parents have controlled the narrative. They've put the stories out. But all the stories I've heard are from the Nicola and Brooklyn camp. That's a detail I think a lot of people are missing.
Yeah, you're right. That's hardly a story that the Beckhams have put out there. So that's definitely come, and, you know, that could be a friend, whatever. Like that, if I was Nicola, that's a story I would have told every friend in my life.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing I think everyone's quite missing about Brooklyn Beckham's statement to Instagram that is kind of denouncing his family, is that every story he's referencing seemingly feels leaked from the Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz Beckham camp. And it seems like they've always painted Victoria in particular in a really bad light. So that's why I find it interesting. He says, my parents have been controlling the narrative. And that's what I find a little untrue about what he's saying, because if they haven't done a very good job.
No,
like nothing, nothing except the fact that Nicola's potentially controlling. Nothing bad that we've seen, and we have been in the weeds of this for years, has come out about Brooklyn and Nicola, except for the controlling allegations. But so many stories have come out about Victoria and David meddling in their lives, being cruel, doing things to like disrupt their wedding, which brings us to like the next part of the slide,
which I hope is the dance.
Oh yeah, so. The version of this we heard, again, this is the crazy thing, because I feel like a lot of this information is not, if you've been in the weeds of this, a lot of this information is not new. It's what we've been hearing over the years over and over and over again. It's the fact that Brooklyn is confirming all of our long-held suspicions that makes me think, who has been very carefully and more successfully than the Beckhams leaking this information over the years to make Nicola and Brooklyn the more sympathetic? Because the next part he said was, my mum hijacked my first dance with my wife. That would have been enough to say. Explosive.
Yeah, that's enough.
That's enough. Which had been planned weeks in advance to a romantic love song. Now, we do know a bit about the planning of this wedding, because I don't know if you were across the lawsuit with the wedding planners.
Yes, I was.
Obviously, it's the best thing that's happened to all of us. I think almost also that overshadowed a lot of the wedding drama.
Yeah.
So for those who are not across, we did a whole episode on this. Nicola Peltz Beckham and her family, who were footing the bill for the wedding, sued the first round of wedding planners that they had. And in the lawsuit, all of the text messages between Nicola, the Peltz family, and the wedding family and the wedding planners were made public. And the intricacies of planning the wedding were all kind of laid bare. The issues with the guest list, the issues with the food. Nicola even says, like, and this kind of, I think maybe is why people think she's controlling. There's even a text message where Brooklyn suggests a girl's burger and a boy's burger, and the girl's burger have no bun. And then the planners, do you remember that? It's burned into my brain. Yes. That was his big idea for the wedding. That was his big idea for the wedding. God bless that sweet boy. And the wedding planners were like, so Brooklyn's asked for this and we're going to do it. And Nicola's like, don't talk to him. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's not involved. So when he...
Which, can I just say, is a classic bride move. Like, every bride has said that at some point. Like, nope.
Not involved.
Your ideas are bad.
She's like, I'm planning this luxury wedding in my Valentino gown that I've had to find last minute because your mother won't make it. And now you're suggesting that the women walk around with girl burgers. And then what? Is there like a no women sign at the men's burger sign? Like, if you want a bun, you're not allowed to have one.
Like those Yorkie bars, the chocolate bars in England, not for girls.
Not for girls. If you wanted a burger with a bun at the Brooklyn Beckham wedding, you had to like eat it under the table in secret. Oh my God, Nicola Peltz Beckham, she's like, I'm dealing with so much right now. So when he says the dance is planned in advance, I believe it, but not by him.
No, I agree.
So this wedding, so rocky from the start with the fired wedding planners. The guest list, remember how they were saying like all these people had RSVP'd yes and no. Venues hadn't been booked. The wedding planners were like having like mental health breakdowns. Absolutely crazy scenes for a wedding of like 500 people. So he then went on to say, we'd planned the dance for weeks in front of our 500 wedding guests. So he even gave us the number.
Yep.
And I feel like we felt every 500 of those people. Marc Anthony, who probably woke up today and was like, what? Why have I been charged with the takedown of the Beckham empire?
Marc Anthony, who's like, I've had a spike in my Googles. Why? What's happened? Oh.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, now people are talking about me. He and Carly do a duet and capitalise on their fame. So Brooklyn writes, Marc Anthony called me to the stage, famously a very long-time friend of Victoria and David, called me to the stage where in the schedule it was planned to be my romantic dance with my wife, but instead my mum was waiting to dance with me instead. She danced, this is the worst part. I can't even say this out loud. This is the worst part of the whole thing.
Say it slowly. Let's luxuriate in it.
I don't want to. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life.
Okay, let's stop there because, wow.
That could be a whole podcast.
There are 500 people who definitely, amongst that, someone has footage.
Yeah.
So I want to see that footage.
Where are those 500 guests? What are they doing?
I do know what the scenes would be like right now in places like The Sun, the Daily Mail. All those newsrooms are like, if anyone can get this footage, like you can have whatever you want,
anything
right?
you want.
So like that is now the most wanted footage to exist.
Yeah, I know. Well, they stopped it coming out all these years. I mean, they did. The thing is, there weren't really any leaks from inside the wedding. So maybe they confiscated phones and stuff. Everything that came out was rumours, not photos or footage or anything like that.
It has to exist. I need it to exist.
I need the waiter who was at Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's wedding. And who secretly filmed her serenading him in song that they were both later. That was never meant to be seen by the public eye. That's so embarrassing. We hate you for that. And that person, I believe, was fired. Fair enough. But also he had his moment in the sun.
Totally.
So this, again, confirms a story that had come out after the wedding. But the story that came out was slightly different. So Marc Anthony's name back when they were married was thrown around. The story that came out after the wedding was that the dance had been interrupted in some way, but apparently it was meant to be like a toast, which maybe also, I think maybe when Marc Anthony got to the stage and kind of stopped the dance and introduced Victoria, maybe he did say something then, and that's where the toast story comes in. So the story that came out at the time was Marc Anthony got up on the stage, he did a toast, he talked only about the Beckham family and excluded Nicola during a pivotal part of the reception, which could be the dance. And then the story went after that Nicola fled the room in tears and was inconsolable. And that's one of the main stories. So I think she probably saw Posh Spice grinding on her husband on the dance floor. And that's why she fled in tears and no one could get her to come back. And fair enough.
Fair enough. Something I do want to point out as well is like Victoria was a Spice Girl.
Yeah.
I loved the Spice Girls. I grew up loving the Spice Girls. I don't want to like disparage what they achieved.
That's what's making this very hard.
No, but one thing I will say is that Victoria was not the strongest dancer.
No, and she would tell you that too. So she wasn't even grinding in a fun, sexy way. That's why they were always like when they did their big dances or they come back to her, they're like, and then Victoria, you do a catwalk.
Yeah.
And then she would strut down and do a pose and strut back and then everyone else would dance.
It was definitely right for her to move into fashion. That was the right move for her. That's what she contributed to the Spice Girls because she also was not the strongest singer.
Yeah.
But that aside, focusing on the dancing, the skills
weren't
weren't
she
there.
got there.
So how was this inappropriate grinding on her son?
Yeah.
We need to see how
I don't
this
know if
played
my eyes
out.
can take that. I would just in a quick defense of Victoria, she did get the highest marks in the first Spice Girls audition, but I guess they were averaging singing, dancing, and stage presence, and she sung a musical theatre song instead of a pop song. I don't know why that's relevant. It just feels really relevant. I was like, maybe her dancing was great.
Maybe. She must have had a great day.
But history tells us no. The thing is, even just kind of interrupting a first dance, which for so many couples at the reception is their really big moment when everyone gathers around. When he says prep, do you think they had one of those choreographed dances?
100%. Well, I think that they definitely did like dance lessons for it, which a lot of couples do, but also they're in front of 500 people. They don't want to make fools of themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they did, practice and it is like a moment, you know. What was it that Marc said about Victoria, Marc Anthony?
Oh, do you mean from the rumour that came out?
Yes.
So we don't know for sure because it was a rumour, but apparently he was talking about like David this is a story that came out at the time that was the main kind of like, this is why the wedding was the wedding from hell, is that apparently Mark Antony said, was talking about David and Victoria's love story and how in love they are and how great the family is and how much they love Brooklyn, and just never said anything about Nicola and was talking about them being the big love story, which again, maybe they just said, can you come up and introduce this song? And he was like, yeah, I'll just say something quick about my friends, not knowing what he had wrought on the whole wedding situation. So, and I heard some people also say that like he had said some like not nice things about Nicola, but I never thought that was true. That's a step too far. This story is the believable one, that the dance was interrupted by a toast, and apparently she didn't come back to the reception.
It feels like she was just kind of omitted from her own wedding.
Yeah. And the fact that that happened during the first dance, which I didn't know, didn't come out at the time, makes it even more the thing is, every story that we've heard over the years is all just falling into place with like, oh my God, that wasn't a wild rumor, it really happened. So then after the dancing thing where Brooklyn said, I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life, you and me both, brother, I've got secondhand embarrassment from that. He then said, which again, we also said was the story at the time. This is crazy how he's just confirming. It's like he listened to the spill and was like, yeah, that happened. Yep. He said, we wanted to renew our vows so we could create new memories of our wedding day that brings us joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. So when they had that huge, and it wasn't just, they said it was a vow renewal, but it looked like a second wedding.
Yeah. So obviously it was a do-over because the first one was just absolutely marred with trauma and anxiety and stress and was just not the day that they had planned and hoped for.
Yeah. So when they had, so at their vow renewal, it did again look like a wedding. Like they had the full reception afterwards. Obviously it wasn't as big. It looks like under 100 people, not 500. It was all her family, like Nicola's family very predominantly. She had that beautiful dress on and her hair sort of styled up and it was all very flowery. Kind of looked maybe like what she had wanted if it wasn't a huge society wedding.
Yeah.
When those photos all came out of their vow renewal, so many people were like, oh my God, rich people, which I also think rich people just sometimes renew their vows because why not?
Something to do.
You've got time and money. What else would you do but renew your vows constantly? But there was something about this of her like walking down the aisle to him and like them saying their vows and the way they posted about it felt like their wedding day. So at the time we said, we think this is a makeup wedding for the big society wedding that ended in trauma, and this is what they would say to people was their actual wedding.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they did. I think that's really nice because if the first one was, meant to be the happiest day of their lives and it wasn't, and that was not through like relationship issues between the couple. So it's really sad that it wasn't a nice day for them.
Yeah. And
so I'm glad they did a do-over.
That crazy multi-million billion dollar 5-day wedding, I think it was. 5 days of being at that wedding.
Exhausting.
If I was a guest, my hands would have been shaking from trauma by the end of that. Because I think we've all been to an uncomfortable wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's like tension between the bride and groom, tension
of them.
in family. Yeah, so many of them. I separate every wedding I've been to not by like the venue or the food and drink. I'm like, were people angry or were people happy? And it's surprisingly 50-50 down the middle.
Yeah. Before we move on, we have to just circle back. One more thing about Marc Anthony was when he asked...
It's such a bad day to be Marc Anthony. Again, he's just like, I haven't been in the public eye like this for decades since I broke up with J-Lo.
He's like, leave me alone. But when he asked Brooklyn to come on the stage and then announced inviting someone else up onto the stage, the most beautiful woman in the room tonight. Now, one would assume he's talking about the bride. I'm sure Brooklyn assumed he was talking about the bride. I'm sure the bride assumed
of course
he was talking about
That's
the bride.
What you get called on your wedding day, no matter what your dress looks like.
What.
Everyone says you're the most beautiful one in the room because you're supposed to be, and that's the fair thing.
Yes. And to be fair, Nicola was. She looked gorgeous.
Yeah, she did she looked incredible.
She looked incredible. She was the most beautiful woman in the room that night. But no, instead it was, come on up, Victoria Beckham.
It's just so, and the thing is, like, I know I was saying maybe this man didn't know the drama he was causing, but how could you not? How could you not read social cues in that way?
And know that you don't say that at another woman's wedding about another woman, especially the mother-in-law.
Especially when your mother-in-law is Posh Spice. You already be feeling a little bit like this. There's a lot at stake here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
She's been known, her whole career is built on being the most stylish person in the room, and that's my mother-in-law. There's already a rocky road to walk without that.
I mean, no wonder she fled the room in tears.
I wonder, because again, as I was saying before, like that story came out that he had said disparaging marks about Nicola, and that's why she ran out. And I think a lot of people read that he had said something bad about her. But I do think when people say disparaging or hurtful remarks, that was the hurtful remark.
I
that
agree.
he didn't say she looked bad, because that is a bit crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no one would say that. That's just insane. But
that would have been like, a much bigger story. But I think when people say hurtful comments, that's what they're talking about. Hurtful by admission.
I would think that hearing that, there would have been 500 jaws on the floor.
I'm sure there were. Well, that's how this story got out there. Otherwise, how does a huge story from a celeb wedding? So much drama happens at celeb weddings that we never hear about, because like they just like they have the circle is so tight and people just don't leak information. But I think because this one was so explosive, and obviously, as I said before, it's interesting how all the stories from Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz Beckham, like all the stories that post them in the best light, all the stories that give context to why they've stopped talking to his family, are the ones that have come out over the years, and now the ones we find out are all true. Like, that's crazy to have every rumor be confirmed.
Yeah,
by him,
really
confirmed
is.
by him,
Confirmed
but
by
like,
him. Yes,
that's still more than you see from any other celeb scandal. And then we're not even finished yet, guys. We're only halfway through the slides. Buckle up, because it does get more intense. He's now talking about David Beckham's infamous 50th birthday, which is where, up until then, he does say in the slides, we tried to be supportive of my family. We went to fashion shows, we went to events, we showed up. This is why those rumors about their wedding died down a little bit. It was always floating in the background, got a little overshadowed by the lawsuit with the wedding planners. But after that, we kept seeing photos of Brooklyn and Nicola with his family. Nicola in particular seemed to have a really close relationship with a lot of his siblings, in particular Harper. They were also, always at events and things and like posing with Victoria and David. And so a lot of people thought like maybe something rocky happened around the wedding, but they've put on such a public face that we've forgotten about it.
That people assumed it had been smoothed over.
Exactly. So it wasn't until David's 50th birthday that stories of a rift really took hold, and he talks about it in his statement. So Brooklyn writes that my wife has been consistently disrespected by my family, no matter how hard we tried to come together as one. My mum, oh my God, this is another thing not to skip over. My mum has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that were clearly intended to make us both uncomfortable. Who?
Yeah, who?
Well, I mean, he's got a few famous girlfriends, right? But he's also dated a few like influencers.
So there was like, I remember when he was with Chloe Grace Moretz.
That's what I was thinking.
And they did that photo shoot for Teen Vogue, and the issue came out at the exact same time that their breakup was announced.
Yeah.
So then there was this issue on newsstands, and it was a great shoot. I worked in teen mags at the time, so that
You're
was
all over it.
All over it. Very, very important story in my career. But so there was Chloe Grace Moretz. So that was
who's
a big
very
one.
happily married to her wife now. Or that I mostly just think about that stunning wedding dress that she wore and how sweet their wedding was.
See, good style on her wedding day.
Exactly, great style on her wedding day. That's how we can tell. She's probably like, don't put my wife and I into this. Crazy story. He's obviously dated a few women that are sort of not as much in the public eye. So I wonder if what has Victoria been doing, inviting them over when David cooks that chicken outside in that outdoor kitchen, and they just rock up.
So awkward.
Yeah.
It all indicates, and this is obviously, we've heard this from Brooklyn, but it sort of sounds like she doesn't want to lose her boy. She doesn't want her boy to be married to anyone.
Yeah, but I also doesn't want to be married to anyone. But
because the first dance thing, kind of not welcoming the wife into the family, bringing in girls from the past. It's very sabotage.
Yeah, and I guess they did get married when he was quite young, but I don't know. It just feels like this is like full on, like if this is all to be believed, and obviously this is his side of the story, I'm sure Victoria and David and their kids and their family would tell a different side of it. It does feel like it's like full on sabotage.
Like monster-in-law stuff.
Yeah, stuff that you would only read about, you only see in like a crazy rom-com from the 90s and early 2000s. And it also just all looks like it would damage their brand in such a huge way that whatever happened behind the scenes, they must have decided that it was almost worth it to enact all this crazy sabotage and have like this huge fight at the wedding and have these differences behind the scenes, knowing that eventually it could come out and make them look bad. And again, so much of their brand is like, we're the perfect couple and we're the perfect family and we're stylish and fun, and that's why people like them. So then after the bringing old girlfriends over stuff, Brooklyn writes, despite this, we traveled to London for my dad's birthday and were rejected for a week as we waited in our hotel room trying to plan quality time with him. He refused all our attempts unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. Later, my family traveled to LA where they refused to see me at all because they live in Miami, right? They live between Miami and London.
Yeah. When I read that, I had this like vision of, I mean, I don't know which hotel it is, but I just imagined Nicola and Brooklyn holed up in like the penthouse at Claridge's or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Just ordering
all these trays of room service croissants and things sitting untouched.
Untouched. While they paced, and particularly, I just imagine Brooklyn pacing. Yeah. Nicola sitting there kind of, I don't know, like picking her nails because like, you know, being like,
staring out
awkward.
The window forlornly.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the thing is, like, again, you can if you have enough money and know-how, you can get around a city like that without being seen. But because it was such a huge thing, that was David Beckham's 50th, the party was happening, there were so many celebs in town for it, everyone was going. If they were seen in town anywhere,
if they were seen out at like restaurants, down at, you know, parading down Mayfair, like out at dinners and everything,
and then
like
not
that,
at the
and
party,
then not exactly
would have just made the whole story worse. So I do believe his story that they flew to London and then were just shut up in their hotel room for a week. And the story that came out at the time was that they had not attended the party because they were feuding because Romeo Beckham's girlfriend had dated Brooklyn at the time. Oh my God, bringing back past girlfriends. It's all falling into place. And they had said it was inappropriate.
Maybe that was a PR girlfriend, but but PR for the family.
I know, yeah, exactly. And
Internal
she just was paid in like Victoria Beckham gowns for the rest of her life for showing up. So the story that came out was that Brooklyn and Nicola had refused to go to the party because the girlfriend was there. And then this is the only time I feel like Victoria and David were maybe leaking their side of the story, and their leak overtook the Brooklyn leak because the Brooklyn leak was that what we're hearing now, that they weren't invited, they weren't welcome. And the David and Victoria leak at the time was that Brooklyn and Nicola were being difficult, refusing to come to the party and refusing to like see the whole family. And that David put his foot down and he's like, you come to the family celebration or you don't come. We're a family or we're not. And so that was why the picture that David Beckham posted afterwards, remember he posted that fishing photo with Romeo, which is the middle son, Romeo Beckham, and Cruz Beckham, which is the younger son, with a caption that read, the only thing I wanted for my birthday was a fishing trip and a camping trip with my sons, and I'm so happy it happened. And everyone's like, but Brooklyn's not there.
You have another son.
Wasn't like, I think later on, like he posted like a throwback of Brooklyn. Like he and Victoria are so online that whenever they sort of get called out for something, they often like somehow kind of slip in another photo or slip in a tag or slip in something. But it was the first very pointed moment where everyone was like, they weren't at the birthday. They haven't sort of like taken part in any of the celebrations, and now he's posting a photo with my son saying like, this is all I wanted was to be with my family and Brooklyn's not there. It was the first time that was really cemented, and now we're hearing Brooklyn's like full side of the story.
It's actually just really sad, isn't it?
It's really sad.
Because, like, what did David and Victoria want? Why are they so online? Why do they care?
Well, I just feel like the thing is, there's always a bigger catalyst for this. Like, and it's probably a build-up. Like, maybe there was friction. Maybe they just hate Nicola. Maybe they think that she's ruining their son and controlling her. Maybe she's been rude to them. Like, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe she came in perfectly pleasant and they turned against her, and they would have turned against anyone in that situation. Like, that's a thing we'll never know because each side is like so sticking to their story, unless like a whole bunch of like phone calls and text messages get leaked and we can like hear some of the conversations for ourselves. It's kind of hard to know. But like over the years, apart from the fact that people have said she's pulled this adult man away from his family, none of the charges against Nicola have stuck, whereas all of the rumors against Victoria and David have stuck. And he addressed this. So then Brooklyn went on to say, the narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety. I feel bad for him. For the first time in my life, since stepping away from the family, that anxiety has disappeared, and I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and have found peace and relief. My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family. If they drop a pregnancy announcement right now, I'm going to die.
Oh.
No, I think they would hold on to that.
Oh, look, I'm so glad he addressed that, because I think that was a really important point to make. And I think during the whole story from start to finish, that's kind of what's annoyed me the most, is the commentary around her being controlling.
Yeah.
That he is also just this like useless kind of guy that's got no sense of.
I mean, he does present.
Look, he cannot take a photo. He cannot cook. But I do think
it's not. I'm just saying his past career endeavors are not helping in this situation. The fact that he tried to be a chef, couldn't be a chef. The fact that he has launched businesses but doesn't seem to be across what they are. The fact that everyone thought he was addressing all the stories about him and then said, I didn't get the joke. And the fact that he tried to be a photographer and can't take a photo. This is not funny. The funniest thing that I've seen today.
This is not funny.
However, I'm trash for you know how he released that photography book?
Yes,
of course. Obviously. I want to copy that book so bad.
Oh my God, we had a copy in the Dolly office.
Oh my God, where is it?
Oh, I don't know who has it now, but I will find out.
I have referenced that book then more than any other text in the world over the years. It is like weirdly, imagine like that's my most read book.
Sometimes it was like, hey, who needs a laugh?
Let's look through the book. But there's famously a picture in there that he took. He flew to like this safari spot and took a photo of an elephant, and the elephant was right there. Elephant, it's huge. And he somehow missed the shot. And the elephant, you can't see the elephants in complete darkness. And the caption he wrote was, beautiful, hard to photograph. Everyone's like, it's a non-moving object that's standing in front of you in broad daylight, and you have the world's most expensive camera. How did you miss that? And so,
also, why did it make the cut then for the book?
No, but when you see the other photos, like the blurry dinner table, you're like,
that's why
that was the better shot. So anyway, people are sharing that today and being like, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. Oh no, we can't because we can't see it. And I was like, okay, stop kicking his body. He's already dead.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Beckham, leave him alone.
Leave him alone. Okay. But no, it did piss me off that there is the manipulative woman narrative. It's so annoying because also like, why is that the go-to? I'm glad. That's why I'm so glad he addressed it.
You can't pull an adult away from their family unless part of them wants to go.
Unless they want to go.
Like, obviously, keeping aside like physical manipulation and all those sorts of things. But this is, and people saying like she's tricked him away from his family and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, he's a grown adult man. I know he doesn't present as one, but he is a grown adult man. And like, you can't force an adult to cut ties with their like famous rich family just because your famous rich family like puts pressure on you. Like that's ultimately, whether it's the right one or not, it's ultimately his decision.
Exactly.
It's just absolutely crazy. And then he like that other part about like calling, it's almost like he's centered on Victoria a lot more and kind of painted her as the manipulator and the mastermind behind it all. Like often he's like, my mother, like separate from like the wedding stuff, but like my mother did this, my mother has done that. Like he's really centering Victoria as the one who has caused this whole friction and who has been like the one going to the press, the one who he says turn my brothers against me. Because obviously Cruz was the first one to post anything about this when he posted that story to his Instagram saying that Brooklyn had blocked the family. My parents would never do that. And now in his statement, Brooklyn is saying that the parents forced the brothers to block them. Yeah. Instagram just tears people apart. And then he also, Brooklyn included that part where he said Victoria called Nicola and I evil because we wanted our grandmothers to sit at the wedding table and our parents would be on adjacent tables.
It's such an interesting turn of, like, for her to say evil for wanting the grandparents to sit there, the grandmothers, because they were without their husbands.
Yes.
That is so weird. I want more context to that.
Yeah. It just sounds like this wedding just like...
Oh, this wedding.
No, one of the wedding planners were like, we can't do this. This is crazy. And then they sued them for not like finalising the job and for letting things fall apart. They're probably getting calls from Nicola, getting calls from Victoria, getting calls from Nicola's billionaire dad, getting a call from Marc Anthony. Apparently he's involved. Like, just like, no wonder. They were so stressed they had to
so
pull out.
traumatized. I wonder if they're still wedding planners or if they've gone and like
someone
found
check on
something
them.
really like lovely
I
to
wonder
do.
if they're just also looking at this day and being like, we feel so vindicated because
Yes, I
we
bet.
said this was crazy and terrible and no one believed us.
And it really truly is.
I wonder if they were the leaks. I'm not starting anything. I'm just saying. How did all these perfect stories, all these like almost word perfect stories from this celeb wedding leak? Someone did. I'm not saying it was them. They're obviously litigious. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Someone.
Just saying. Someone.
A waiter or someone or photographer's assistant. Like if it wasn't their circle of friends, someone has been doing the rounds over the years because
Marc Anthony's sound guy. Who knows?
Yeah. God. I want Marc Anthony to release a statement. Where's he? Gets Jennifer Lopez on the phone. He's like, I know it's not my weekend with the kids, but you're really good at crisis management and I do need you to step in. And I do believe Jennifer Lopez would fix this situation. She's good at PR.
She is good at PR.
Get her on the phone. And so that is where we've left it. It just goes on to say that they've completely cut ties with the family. They wake up every day so happy they're away from that. It's really giving that part, like a lot of it feels like a lot of the slides feel like it's coming from Nicola and him.
Yeah.
The last slide where he talks about, I'm finally free, I finally escaped, I feel different, I feel at peace. And this kind of resolution feels like it's just written by Brooklyn and it's giving Prince Harry.
It is, absolutely.
And every interview he's given.
And yes, absolutely.
That idea of like, I found peace, I found sanctuary. Like it's almost like they're speaking after this kind of like returning home from, some sort of traumatic voyage in like an old timey novel or something like that. Like I've come to a place of peace and that's where he's left it.
Yeah. And, both families are their own version of British royalty.
Yeah.
And that situation where the family is a brand and a business, which like that's not a normal family dynamic to grow up in.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting that we've been given this crazy insight to not only, as you're saying, like these two famous families, but these two families who, especially Nicola's family, like old money, like kind of like, wealthy beyond like a normal Hollywood standard.
Oh, totally.
Fashion
they could have
standard.
bought and sold the Beckhams.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. They're like, we'll buy Victoria Beckham and sell it off for parts. Don't tempt us. So where do you think this is going to go next? That's the question.
I have a theory.
Oh, okay. Yep.
There's only one thing I think that's left to happen, and that is for Ryan Murphy to make a feud.
My God, yes.
To make his next feud season, the Beckhams.
Again, Ryan Murphy loves like especially like Hollywood American drama. Usually he waits like a few decades for it to, but we can't.
Yeah, we can't wait.
We
cannot wait. It's
cancel
time.
Everything. Cancel American Love Story and everything else you've got on there.
Cancel. I mean, definitely cancel American Love Story. And let's just get straight down to business with the Beckhams because I want to see that the wedding episode.
Nicola wants to play herself. It's been so long since she's had a good part.
And that's fine. She can play herself. I think it's probably best if Brooklyn doesn't.
I do have a bit of empathy for that girl, especially because it's like she obviously loves this sweet, dumb guy and now his family's giving her so much grief and she's just trying to make it as an actress and director. Remember she directed a movie?
Yeah, Lola.
And have you seen it?
No, I haven't, but
it didn't get a wide release.
No, but I did talk to her extensively about it, so I'm really across it.
And she tried to give Brooklyn a small part, and he had one line, and he couldn't do it. Oh. He had to say hi, I think, but he couldn't time it up with She told this story, not anyone else. He couldn't time it with walking and looking into the camera and saying his line, and so eventually, after hours of shooting, she's like, "We have to move on." And he wasn't in the movie. So she's dealing with that.
I feel like she's really tried with the Beckhams.
She's really tried. She's like, if anyone's tried, I've tried with these people.
I do think this whole thing about her being a diva or whatever, those rumors, a diva wouldn't have said yes in the first place to wearing the mother-in-law's wedding dress design. They would have been like, I'm wearing this. I've got this long-standing relationship with this designer. Yeah. This is what I want to wear.
I want to wear one of the very
day.
classic houses, which Victoria Beckham more successful now, and more accepted by fashion now, but not seen as one of the classic fashion houses that you would choose to make your wedding dress if you were a billionaire heiress who was also a Hollywood actress.
Valentino was actually much more suitable.
Yeah. Do you remember when her billionaire dad was fighting with the wedding planners? And he was like,
I love the way you...
It's so important.
The billionaire dad, the billionaire mother, the billionaire... I love it.
It's so important. They don't have any other features to me except that tells you everything you need to know because, there are no good billionaires. he was like, my daughter, world-renowned actress, and then listed some of her parts. And I was like, sir, I wouldn't be bringing up the movies she's been in, because apart from her role in Bates Motel, everything she's done has been critically panned.
Yeah.
And her in particular has been critically panned. So again, apart from Bates Motel, which allegedly she asked to leave or something like that, and everyone was like, well, this is the one good thing you've done, but she wasn't the star.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a blockbuster. Again, that's scandal. Maybe that's been planted by the Beckhams.
Perhaps.
To make her look difficult. Oh my God, I'm questioning everything. I just think this is going to have far-reaching implications. Obviously, just not for them as a family, but it has kind of, as we said, completely dispelled the whole mythology they've built around their family and their brand. And now just think about like when they post family photos, which they do a lot. That's especially Victoria posts a lot of David and the kids and that sort of thing. And then she posts her brands that she wants you to buy.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like people buy into her lifestyle because she's both unattainable and attainable, because she's a high luxury, rich as a Spice Girl. But at the end of the day, she's like, I'm just hanging out with my husband on the couch and like singing with our kids. Remember that video? Like, you know, like playing guitar with my kids and singing and like playing with them and like hugging Harper and telling her she's beautiful. No matter that's very much their brand. And how do you post that now without a flood of comments being like, you guys are awful, you've done this to your son, your family is fractured? How do they go and do interviews for press, which I know they don't do a lot of interviews, but with brands and things, like how do they do collaborations? How do they do magazine covers? How do they go to events? They obviously would tell everyone, don't ask us about that, but how do you not do press around that? And the same for
virtually impossible.
Nicola and Brooklyn. Like, this is now forever completely tied to their brand. And I understand why they wanted to put their statement out there, but now everything they do, if she makes more movies and they do press for that, he does press for like his many brands, whichever thing he's going to start next. Like, it's just like they've put themselves in a situation where this will always be the center of their story. And how do you build a brand off that?
Yeah.
I don't think their brands will tank or anything like that, but they have put themselves in like a very unfavorable position across the board for people who live in the public eye.
Harry and Meghan must be thrilled that there's...
Yeah, well, as we know, Harry and Meghan allegedly have been having dinners and get-togethers with Brooklyn and Nicola.
They got a lot in common. They got a lot to talk about.
Because famously the Beckhams chose William and Kate in the whole situation. So... oh my God, Nicola comes out as a spokeswoman for Meghan's brand. They do a podcast. They do a movie.
I would love
that.
But I would love to see an episode of With Love Meghan where Brooklyn and Nicola come over and, you know, they make like little mimosas and whatever together and sprinkle flower petals on
out of that.
A Caesar salad or what.
Netflix wasn't going to revive With Love Meghan, but now they're just like, get it back on the phone.
Now there's a really good reason to.
So that's where we end this. And I know we've talked about this intensely, but I do feel bad for everyone involved, because a family rift, whether you're poor or rich or anything, is pretty terrible.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. And no one sets out with a family and with plans like that, and no one goes into a marriage wanting it to be like that as
exactly.
well.
And especially being in the public eye, how much this will like drag on and follow them forever. Even if they reconcile and they post photos and videos and they do a docuseries together, this will always follow them,
be there
in such an intense way.
I think what I'm like most heartened to see from the whole thing though is that there's clearly a lot of love there between Brooklyn and Nicola.
Yeah,
and I think that's really nice.
I think I'm on board. I don't think I was ever off board with them. I don't know what I've said on this podcast the last 6 years, but they do seem to have really like found each other.
Someone clip all the time.
Yeah, all the times I've said, you know what? I've been supporting that poor sweet boy, as I've always called him from the start. And I've never, I don't like to have favorites, but I have one on the record saying he is my favorite Nepo baby, just because he brings us so much joy.
Oh, I love that.
With everything he's done. The amount of joy that boy has brought me has more than people I know in my own life with his various endeavors. And he never says anything bad about anyone. He just always seems to be so just confused about where he is and what he's doing. And I just love him for that.
I have to say, from the 25 minutes that I spent talking to Nicola, I thought she was really sweet and funny and self-deprecating and quite charming.
Both had a lot of bad interviews. So just because it's an interview doesn't mean they're going to be nice to you or pleasant.
It absolutely doesn't. So, but no, I thought she was really sweet.
Yeah, well, we'll keep you updated on any if this story progresses further, which I'm sure it will in a way.
It will. There's going to be more things that come out, and please, if only one thing comes out, let it be the video of Victoria dancing.
Oh my God, please let that come out. Everyone in the world will all put our money into like one pot, and whoever's got that video, you can have that.